Hi everyone, Chelsea back again. Sorry I haven't made a video in a while. Life gets crazy sometimes. So the biggest thing I wanted to talk to you about today is probably the hardest but most beneficial thing that has helped me to overcome or is helping me to overcome my anxiety, which is the strategy of exposure. So whether somebody's talked to you about this or not before, I'd really like to share it with you because it's definitely helped me a lot. So what I mean by exposure is doing the things that are your trigger and doing them all the time, like as much as you can physically, emotionally, and mentally handle. So, for example, for me, one of my biggest triggers is being in a shopping center alone or large crowds where it's really busy, and going on the highway, driving on the highway by myself alone. It's one of my biggest fears. So, the most important thing for me to do is to do them, as scary as it is, and only people with anxiety, especially severe anxiety, will really truly understand how terrifying doing the things that you know will give you a panic attack or have a high chance of giving you a panic attack, how scary it is to actually willingly put yourself in that position. But it's so important, so important. So the other week I had a really good night Friday night, so Saturday night. I probably haven't driven on a highway alone for over a year, and it was nighttime on Saturday night, and I was like, you know what, I'm feeling good. I'm going to drive to Brisbane alone at nighttime. It was like 9 o'clock, and I wanted to go visit friends. So I got in my car, and I got half an hour down the highway, and I was feeling great. And then all of a sudden, I had this one tiny little thought cross my mind about having a panic attack, and then I had a panic attack. I pulled over in the emergency stopping bay. Probably took me about half an hour to get over the symptoms of, the fun stuff like pins and needles, a little bit of hyperventilation, all that cool stuff. So that happened, but I also decided, because usually in those positions, everyone deals with it differently, but I usually call someone. I could usually call like a family member or someone just so that I'm like not fully alone and I'm talking to someone through it. But that night I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this by myself because I know what this is. I know it's anxiety. I know it's not going to kill me. I know I'm going to overcome it. It's terrifying right now, but I can do this. So I just reclined in my seat and I did my deep breathing and I talked to myself through it, and I got through it. It took like half an hour to come stable pretty much, but that's okay. Like, doesn't matter. I got through it. And to be honest, in that moment, and when you have a panic attack, when you put yourself in a position that triggers yours, it's probably kind of human, like I did this, to think, oh God, like I was doing so well. I'm so angry at myself. Like I feel like I'm going 10 steps backwards. I've been so good for so long. What's going on? Don't think that. Like, think instead, and if you do think that, because we're only human, try and catch yourself in the thought and be like, oh, I'm doing this to myself. This is unhealthy. I'm going to switch it. And instead, for example, I thought, you know what? I am awesome. I just put myself in a position that I knew was going to most likely terrify me and have a high chance of triggering a panic attack. But I did it anyway. I showed up and I confronted my fear. And yet it sucked for half an hour while I was having an anxiety attack. But like next time I do it, it's going to get easier, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier until I can drive on a highway for hours and feel completely free. That's my goal. Whatever triggers your panic attack, the most important thing is to do it. Go to that party that gives you social anxiety, or, whatever it is that is your trigger, do it. Like, if it's a healthy situation, do it. And do it repetitively. Don't let, like, I could have let that anxiety attack that I had on the highway stop me from going back on a highway for months. No. That's not the plan. The plan is that I get on the highway again next day or a couple of days later and I try again. Even if it's not all the way to Brisbane, if it's just, a 10-minute little on the highway just for 10 minutes or 15 minutes and then take the next exit. Like, you got to keep pushing yourself to do the best you can. Don't be hard on yourself. Practice compassion and practice self-love, because every single time you face your fear, you are growing in character, you're growing in strength, you're getting braver and braver. And I honestly have so much respect for you. I have so much respect for people with anxiety, severe anxiety, moderate anxiety, any form of anxiety. If you actively put yourself in a position to try and overcome your anxiety via exposure to your fears, I love you. Like, it is terrifying, and I know how terrifying it is. But the key is to keep doing it. And every time you do it, it will get less and less scary. And yeah, basically, I can't express how much love and how much respect I have for people with anxiety who put themselves in positions where they're, overcoming it. So go you, and I love you. Secondly, I'm just going to say that it's so important, and I did this actually last night in the bath. I had a moment where I was like thinking about my year. This has been the hardest year probably in my life. I've never really had severe anxiety before. I didn't even know what a panic attack was until January, when it just came randomly, and yeah, that was fun. So I think it's really important because last night in the bath, I just had a moment where I was like, you know what? I'm just going to reflect over this year, and instead of being like, man, this has been the crappiest year, like I've had really bad anxiety and it came out of nowhere, and it's really just like kind of stopped me in my tracks, basically. Everything I thought I was, and the confident, busy, active, crazy girl that I've been my whole life, like the go, go, go girl, I couldn't be that girl this year. And that was like a massive slap in the face and like a strip of identity, and terrified me. And I was like, who am I without that stuff? Who am I without the girl that goes on road trips by herself? Who am I without that part of me that is able to run up mountains all the time and like go out and party? And it's pretty intense. Like that whole identity thing is, yeah. Whew. Anyway, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, even if it's just a little bit there for you. So I had a moment in bath, and I was thinking to myself, this has been a really beautiful year. Like, it's been a really, really hard year, but the most beautiful things come out of the toughest situations, and it may take you a while to get to this point that I'm at, and that's okay. When I first had it, probably the first 4 months, I hated everything. I was so angry. I didn't understand. I was depressed. And I mean, that's totally fair. Like, your life just completely changes within a day, within a moment, after that first attack. But it's really important to, when you can, get to a point where you can reflect and be like, you know what, this year's been hard, but I have grown so much. I now know who I am as a person, what my values are, and the me deep inside, without all of that excess stuff, like without the shopping that I used to do and the mountain climbing that I used to do. Yeah, that's definitely a part of my personality, but it's not who I am. It's just what I do. It's what I did. So this has been an awesome year to get to know me. Like, who am I without all that stuff? So that's been a beautiful part of this year. Number one is my real identity and finding out my real identity. Number two would probably be, I can now see the important things in life. Like, for me, for the first couple of months, I couldn't work, I couldn't drive. I was too scared to do anything. To be honest, I was too scared to shower by myself. Like, it was that bad. So that really made me reassess what's important in life. Is it really important in life to pick a career that pleases others, or is it important to pick a career that makes me comfortable, happy, and peaceful, and do what's right for me? Like, it just put everything into a whole new perspective. Like, that's awesome. So now I see things very differently, and what really matters to me, not the superficial stuff. And thirdly, I love myself so much more. I have so much more respect for myself, because this year has forced me to be something that I never was. It's forced me to be so brave and so resilient and so self-compassionate and self-loving towards myself and not judgmental towards myself. Like, it's forced me to be those things. And so I've grown in those positive aspects so much. So I think, anxiety can be hard, and okay, anxiety is hard, and it can be terrifying to confront your fears, and it can take a while to get to a point where you feel like you're getting somewhere slowly. You feel like you're slowly getting a little bit better, where you feel like your mindset's not as negative as it was. Yeah, it took me probably 6 months. So don't be too hard on yourself. It could take less, could take longer. Everybody's different, but you will get there. All it takes is persistence. So yeah, it can be crappy and it can be hard and it can be scary and it can take a while to get to a good place. But when you do, you're going to realize that you are so different to where you were, the person you were, to what you valued, to your perspective on life before you began this anxiety journey. So to me, I think it's kind of a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's tough, but it's just for a period of your life, and I promise you it will get better if you put in the work. So try and find the beautiful things within your anxiety. That's what I'm trying to say, is try and take moments out of your life to appreciate where it's gotten you, or where it's taking you, or what it's making you love more about yourself. Yeah. Try and put a positive spin on it, because yeah, anxiety can be a really beautiful thing. So much love and good luck.